Hola amigos, this is Somveer and welcome to Learning Bots. In this video series, we are going to develop a chatbot for businesses. For example, I want to inquire a gym. I want to know the timings, I want to know the fees. So I will text them on WhatsApp about the issue and the chatbot will automatically reply to me. It will not be a person who will reply, it will be a chatbot. We will be using Python, Twilio and Flask to do all of this. But before diving into the series, let's quickly have a demo how it will work. So if I open my WhatsApp, here we can see I'm using the Twilio trial account for the trial of my chatbot. If I send any message, let's say hi, the chatbot will reply with, "Hi there, how can I help?" So if I ask what is the timing, let's see what it gives. It says we are open from 6 am to 10 pm. Let's ask him what is the fees. It says the fees is 1000 rupees per month. Let's thanks the bot. It says my pleasure. So this is the basic functionality of our chatbot. This is on the very common data that I have used, like timing and fees and thank you and hi. But we can expand our data as per our requirement. Let's see how to develop it from scratch. Before starting the project, let me show you what all we will cover in the series. So the series will have 4 video parts. In first one, we will cover data preprocessing and training of the data. We will train them using the TensorFlow. Then we will create the chatbot, the interaction between the user and the chatbot. In the third part of video series, we will use Flask to create an app so that we can interact with Twilio, and we will use the Twilio account so that we can use the WhatsApp for our interaction. And in the last part, we will deploy the chatbot online so that we don't have to run it on our local machine and it will be available 24/7. So moving on to the first part of the video, first of all we will install the virtual environment, create a virtual environment for our project. Basically we can understand virtual environment as a folder where we can dump all our project related files together. Once we create the environment, we will install all the dependencies like TensorFlow, NLTK, NumPy, etc. After that, we will create an intents.json file that will hold all the intents that we will create for the chatbot, how the user will ask questions, and what responses can we expect from the chatbot. Once we create it, we will extract that data for our training. For that, we will use pandas and tokenizer. So first of all, we will remove the stop words from the sentence. For example, I, you, is, the. They are all very common English words, so we will remove them. And after that, we will stem the sentence or the words of the sentence. For example, playing, plays and played all becomes a single word keyword, that is the base word. We are stemming the words because we don't know what user may ask. We will train the chatbot in such a way that it will take all the stem words and give reply based on that. After this, we will use the one-hot encoding technique to extract labels. We are using one-hot encoding because we are using softmax activation in the TensorFlow, and what softmax activation will do is it will give probability of each tag or each label. So that probability will help us in determining what tag will be the final. We will use tokenizer to convert text into sequences of equal length. We will get the maximum length of the sequence and the vocab size using tokenizer. After this, we will train the data on the collected stemmed sentences and the intents, and we will use TensorFlow to train them. At the end of this video, we will try to save the model, the tokenizer and the maximum sequence length variable so that we can use them while we are creating our chatbot. Let's dive straight into the first part of the video, that is creating virtual environment for our project. So first of all, we will go to desktop. On desktop, we will make a new directory with the name bbchat, business chat. We will get into the directory. Once we are inside the directory, we will install the virtual environment if we don't have one, and we can install using this command, and we will create the environment using this command. So once our environment is created, we will activate it, and to activate it we will have to go into the scripts file and activate it, and we have to activate. Here we can see our virtual environment is activated. Now we can install our dependencies. there is an alternative. If we are using Anaconda, we can use Anaconda to make a new environment and install all our dependencies there. It will also help in the same way. As we have created an environment for us, install all the dependencies, let's move on to the next step of creating an intents.json file. I will be using Spyder IDE for that. The intents.json file will look something like this. I have already created it. Here we will have three things: tag, patterns and responses. Tags will be used to create labels. Patterns are usually the user query, how user may ask. So if I can say that user might ask, hi, hey, how are you, is anyone there, hello, and to this the chatbot should respond with any of this value. And we have 5 tags: goodbye, thanks, timings and fees. We can manually create this intents.json file, or we can use any program to do it. As our intents.json file is created, let's move on to the data preprocessing and training. So this is what our training file will look like. As it is a lengthy process, I will try to walk you through the prepared program. We import some dependencies like JSON, pickle. We will import NLTK, as we will be using NLTK for removing English stop words from the sentence and stemming the words into their base words. Just a quick note here, if we are using NLTK for the first time, we will have to download all these libraries which are required for the function to run properly. We will import pandas, and we will import some libraries of TensorFlow that will help in training and converting text into sequences. To scale the program to various businesses and different types of inquiry bots, I have created a class data preprocessing that will take intents and convert it to sequences, and it will automatically train them. First of all, we will initialize our class with intents and embedding an LSTM dimensionality that is required for our training purpose. First of all, we will make use of the intents file to extract tags and the combination of user query and the tag. We will extract these values using a simple for loop. So we will go through every intent and extract tag from it. We will append it to tags list. Along with this, we will go through every patterns that are available in the intents file, and we will attach a tag to it. So at the last, we will get tags and the combination of query and tag. We will use pandas to create the data frame using the XY, the combination of pattern and the tag we extracted from the last method. At this point, we have our tags as opening, thanks, fees, like that. We need to convert these values into integers, as our TensorFlow model won't be able to understand the language. So we will create a simple tag map dictionary, and we will use the map function of pandas to create the values opening, thanks, etc. to the integer values. Once we convert the values into integers, we will shuffle them using the sample. So now our next step is to convert those sentences or patterns into the stemmed or the base words. We will have this method, get stemmed data frame. First of all, we will create a set of all the English stop words that are available. We will initialize a stemmer. We will get data frame from the last method. After this, we will create a new column as stemmed sentence that will convert the sentences into their base words. To perform this action, I am using a lambda function. So basically what we are doing here is we are taking a sentence, taking out tokens. If it is a stop word, it will not be included in the sentence, it will be removed, or else it will be added to the word. Once all the stop words are removed from the sentence, we will use stemmer to stem the words into their base words. And at the last, we will use join function to again create a string variable, because in the next process we will be using tokenizer to convert the text into sequences. From this method, we will be taking out stemmed data frame. To convert the text into sequence and making it ready for the training, we will use this method of get training xy. So here we will get tags from the get tag response method, and we will get our data frame from the get stemmed data frame. First of all, we will be extracting labels for our training. For that, we will have to use the tag column of the data frame, and we will one-hot encode each row of that column according to the number of tags that are available. We can achieve this one-hot encoding using the toCategorical from keras.utils module. We will give in the tag column extracted from the data frame and the length of tags. the number of tags we have. We will be using the stemmed sentence column from our data frame to initialize the inputs text. We will initialize the tokenizer. We will fit the tokenizer on our inputs. We will convert the text into sequences using tokenizer.text to sequences. As we already know that we can only give sequences of equal length to the TensorFlow model. For that, we will extract the maximum length of our sequence. We will pad our sequences using the maximum length we have acquired, and we will use the post padding method. We will take out the vocab using the word index of the tokenizer and adding 1 to it, because the word index starts from 1, not 0 in tokenizer. Once we are done with all these steps, we will need to save our tokenizer and the maximum length sequence using pickle. So we will use pickle.dump to save our tokenizer and sequence length in our root directory. From this method, we will get padded sequence, labels, maximum length of sequences and vocab size, and we will use them in the next method, that will be training. To train and build our model, we will use this method, that is train data. In this method, we are not hard coding the embedding dimensionality and LSTM dimensionality, meaning the user can provide them, and if we want, we can change other dimensionalities also, such as dropout or dense layers. In this method, we will get padded sequence, labels, maximum length and vocab from our last method, and that will be used to create and train our model. We will be using Keras functional APIs. First, we will define input, which will take the size of maximum length. We will provide embedding layer so that the words can be converted into a matrix of integers. We will be using a dropout of 50% because we only have a limited amount of data and we don't want our model to train improperly. Next, we will provide one LSTM layer. We will provide one dense layer with 120 nodes. In our example, we are expecting one of 5 tags to be predicted by the model, so we are using 5, and we are using softmax function to give probability of each of the 5 tags. We will initialize the model using the model function from Keras. We will compile the model with optimizer Adam, categorical cross entropy loss and accuracy as metrics. We will fit the model on padded sequence and labels, and we will run it for 100 epochs. We will save this model after training as per the required name. So whenever we are running model.fit, it will always provide a history argument, and we will return that so that we can evaluate our model. With this method, our class definition is completed. Let's see the main body of the program. So we will open the intents.json file as intents, and we will provide it for the initialization of object of class data processing. As all our methods in the class are interrelated, we just have to use the train data to process the data and train it. And as we discussed, we can give embedding dimensionality and LSTM dimensionality, and at the end we will be getting history argument of our model.fit. If we try to run this program, we can see here that it started training. It runs for 100 epochs as described in the model, and at the end we will save the model. So with this, we come to the end of our part 1 of the video series. At the end of this video, we are able to create intents.json file for our model, and we use this intents file to extract tag and patterns from it and to train our NLP model on this data. In this video, we will create a Python program that will allow us to communicate with the chatbot. What we want to accomplish today is, we will take an input from the user, and we will use the trained model that we used in the last video to predict the proper response for the input. The process is quite simple. We will instantiate intents.json model, maximum sequence length and tokenizer that is taken from the last training file. We will take input from the user. We will convert the input into its stem form, meaning the base words, and then we will convert the text into sequence using the maximum sequence length we got from the last file, and it will be provided as input for our model. The model will predict the intent or the tag of the user query, and we will use a small code of program to provide a response to the user, and we will find a way to make it all automatic. Let's jump to console to see how it works. This is the last file. Let's create a new Python script as chatting.py, As usual, first of all we will import some libraries which will be used to process our data. As discussed, we will instantiate intents, tokenizer, maximum length and the model. These are taken from the training file we provided in the last video. After this, taking advantage of the object-oriented programming of Python, we will instantiate a class that will handle all the processing for us and it will give the final output to us. The class will look something like this. We will initiate intents, model, tokenizer and maximum length while we are instantiating the object of our class. We will initialize some exit commands so that whenever we put this, our chatbot will know that we want to exit and it will stop the program. Now we want to take the input from user and convert it to its base words, that is stemmed sentence. We will use these lines of code to convert our input text into stemmed sentence. So as we already discussed about it, stop words will make a set of all the stop words that are available in English. We will instantiate a stemmer. We can iterate through every word of the sentence, and if it is not present in the stop words, we will stem them and join them using the .join command, and we will return the sentence that is in a string form. Again, we want to get the string out of this because we will provide it to a tokenizer and tokenizer expects string as an input. As we have stemmed sentence with us, we will now tokenize it and provide it to the model so that we can get the tag prediction. And we can get the tag prediction using this line of codes. We will directly provide the stemmed sentence to the method getPredictedTag class. We will use tokenizer.text2sequences on our stemmed sentences so that we can get a sequence that can be inputted to our model. A quick note before we go forward. We saved the tokenizer from the training file because the model is trained on a specific input type and a specific shape of input, and this tokenizer is used on the particular training so that we want only this specific tokenizer so that we can make our model work in the expected way. Once we converted the text into sequences, we will pad the sequences, and again we will take help of the maximum length of the sequence we extracted from the training file. As I said, our model is trained on a specific set and the shape of data, and then we will use model.predict on our padded sequence. The model.predict will give us the probability of all the tags that are available, but we want only single tag that have the highest probability. So we will use np.argmax to get the specific tag. Here we have the tag, but it is in integer form. And if we go back a little, in our data frame we use the map function to convert the value of tags, opening, closing, etc. to its integer value. So we will define a reverse dictionary that will convert the integers into its string value, and we can define this reverse dictionary using these line of codes. We will take out all the tags in our intents and we will instantiate a dictionary with the reverse of value and key pair so that our integer will give our string value. Basically, we know the intention of the user, what user wants to ask. Now we want to give response to the user according to the intent. So let's define a method that will generate response from our user query. We can use this line of codes so that we can create responses using the user query or the user response. It will take help of all the methods we just defined and it will finally give us a response. And we can use this single method so that we can use a while loop to continue chatting with our chatbot. Understanding this generate response method, first of all we will get the stemmed sentences using the method getStemmedSentences. We will get the tag and we will get the string value of the tag using the reverse dictionary, and we will provide it to a tag name. Now we will use a simple for loop to go through the intents file, match our tag with the available tags and provide a random choice of response. Until now, we saw how the user query will be used to generate response from our model, but we have not taken any input from the user. So let's define a method to take input. The method will look something like this. The basic logic behind this method is we will take an input from the user. We will check if the user wants to exit or he wants to continue. If the user doesn't want to exit, we will take that response and we will use it as an input for the generate response, and we will again generate a response from the prediction. So this process will go on until user wants to quit. Let's quickly define our exit method. So our exit method will look something like this. Basically, we are taking the user response and we are going through every word of the exit commands to check if it is available in the exit commands or not. If user don't want to exit, we will return false. If user wants to exit, we will return have a nice day, and we will return true value so that our while loop stops there and the function will stop. With this, our class definition is completed. Now let's see how it behaves. Going to the main body of the program. Here we will use the intents model tokenizer and maximum sequence length to instantiate an object of the class like this, and we will use the start chat method to take input from user and provide a response. If we run this, here we can see it asks say something. If I say hi, it will say hey. Let's see if I ask for the timings, will it respond correctly or not. Okay, so it says we are open from 6 AM to 10 PM. It works correctly. Again, we can make some changes here so that it takes input from the next line. Now let's see how it behaves when I say quit. It says have a nice day and it breaks. Hence our model is working fine and we are able to chat with our chatbot. We can now conclude our today's video by saying that the chatbot works fine. This is third video of our series where we are building business inquiry chatbot that will be on the WhatsApp platform. Now in this video we will try to take the conversation with our chatbot on the WhatsApp platform. And Twilio.com is a very good site and it is very efficient in doing all this work on WhatsApp. Let's quickly jump to Twilio.com. On this site, let's log in if we already have an account, or let's sign up. Once we complete the registration process, this will be our dashboard. We have to go to programmable messaging, then settings. After this, WhatsApp sandbox settings. Just a quick note here, while registering, Twilio may ask you to send a code to a number using which you can connect to the service. So if you send this code to this number, you will be able to communicate with this number. And once you are able to communicate with this, it means that you are a part of Sandbox and this is your Sandbox settings. So why we are on this page is, if we see here, it says when a message comes in. Let's say if you send a message hi to this number, if there is no website given here, it will give the default reply. Or else if we provide any custom URL here or the web application, it will direct the message to this site. So our goal is to create an online web application that will take the messages from the WhatsApp, or basically what we send to this number will be redirected to this web application and the web application will be used to give reply. Now let's see how we can use Twilio Sandbox and Flask to create a web application and receive messages on our application. Twilio provides some tutorials that may help us using this. I will try to provide the link in the description or in the documents. Here we can see it gives us tutorial for send a message. Also it tells us how to receive and reply with incoming messages. So we are going to use this block of code in our program. For this, let's go ahead and install Flask and Twilio. Moving on to the console, let's use pip install Flask to install Flask. After installing Flask, let's install Twilio. Once we have successfully installed Twilio, we will use the tutorial given by Twilio in our code, but before that, let's have a look at the code. In this code, we can see it is replying a media message, but we don't need any media to reply to, so we will do some changes in the code and use it for our purpose. We will try to include the code in our chatting.py file, and the modified block of code will look something like this. Let me walk you through. First of all, we will import Flask and its libraries. Then we will use Twilio to import messaging response library. And then we will use a basic functionality of Flask to create a very basic web application for us. So we will provide two routes for our app. The one route will be for the home page, and we will provide a string welcome to WhatsApp chatbot for businesses. That will be our home page. And we will provide a second route with /bot, which will have both get and post method, because we will receive messages and we will also post messages. So we will define a method as reply chatbot. Whenever we are sending a message to our WhatsApp, we are posting a message on WhatsApp. So taking that concept, we will get the body of whatever we are sending using the request from Flask, and we will try to keep it in a message variable. After this, we will instantiate an object of our class chatbot, and we will provide intents, model, tokenizer and maximum length as initialization. And if we go back, we remember that this generate response method is sufficient to provide a response for our chatbot. So we will use this method to get a response. Now we have received message from WhatsApp to our API, and we have used that to provide response. Now let's reply it back on the WhatsApp platform. So for that, we will initialize an object of messaging response class, and we will use response.message to send back our bot response that we got from the generate response method. And at the end, we will return the string of response. So this is how our Flask application will look like. Now we need to run our Flask application. For that, we will use app.run. But in the last video, we tried to check our chatbot using the chatbot class, and we instantiated here in the main body. So either we can comment this out or we can delete it. Let me comment it out. Okay, so now let's try to run our application. So we can see that our Flask web application is running on this IP address, and this is present on local machine. Let's see how it looks. If we run this in our browser, it will give welcome to the WhatsApp chatbot for businesses. Hence our application is running. Now the problem arises that this is running in our local machine, and we want to run it globally or online to interact with our chatbot on WhatsApp. For that purpose, we use ngrok. ngrok is basically a service that provides a temporary web application that is available online, and we can use it for our project. Let's go to browser and download it. If we go to ngrok.com/download, we can download it for our machine. We will have to extract the zip file and install it. Usually it is installed in program files x86 in our Windows machine. Once we have installed it, we will use cmd or the command prompt to use it. I have already changed the directory to the program files. Now let's see how the ngrok will work. If we type ngrok http and our port number. Our port number is basically where our web application or the Flask web application is running. If we see here, we can see our port number is 5000. So let's use this ngrok http 5000. It will forward our port that is running on local machine to an online web application, and we can use this to test our chatbot. If we take this address and put it in our sandbox console, and don't forget to put /bot so that our API is complete and we can directly interact with our chatbot on WhatsApp. Let's save it. Once this is saved, let's open our WhatsApp and check if it is running. Here, if I say hi, it says, "Hi there, what can I do for you?" Let's ask what is the fees. It replies, the fees is 1000 rupees per month. If we say thanks, it says my pleasure. So that proves our model is working or our program is working. We can now interact with our chatbot simultaneously. With this, We come towards the end of our video with one problem remaining, that is deploy the project or the code online so that it can run for 24/7. And we are going to use Heroku for it. We will see how to deploy using Heroku in the next video. This is fourth and last video in our video series where we are building chatbot on WhatsApp application for small businesses. In today's video, we will be deploying the application or the Flask application on Heroku. Heroku is a platform as a service where we can deploy our applications and it will run 24/7. Without any delays, let's start our deployment. To deploy our application on Heroku, we will take help of Git. We all are well aware of Git and GitHub. We can download Git using this link. Here we can download Git according to our operating system. Once downloaded and installed, we are ready to use Git. After this, we can sign up on Heroku.com and we can download CLI. CLI is nothing but command line interface for Heroku. Using that, we can use our command prompt to directly deploy the application on Heroku. We can download CLI using this link. We can download as per our requirements or the operating system. Once installed, we are ready to use it for our deployment. After this, we need to install one library, that is Unicorn. Unicorn is nothing but basically an helper class for deploying our projects on Heroku. We will use pip install Unicorn. Once we have successfully installed Unicorn, we can move to next step, and the next step is creating some helper files. But before we go into the creation of files, I just wanted to give one documentation on Heroku deployment using Python. This link is very helpful when we are starting with Python and Heroku. If we look at it, it is giving us all the information that is required to deploy our Python program on Heroku. In case of any confusions or doubts, we can refer to this. Moving on to our file creation. First of all, we need to create a proc file and it will have no extension. So basically proc file is letting Heroku know what type of application we are providing it. Here we are giving web application and we are using Unicorn as a helper class for our file to be deployment on Heroku. And chatting is a name of our Python script, that is chatting.py. So creating a new file, we need to be sure that proc file is capital P, although it will automatically convert into uppercase. In this proc file, we need to paste web unicorn chatting app. Once we are done with proc file, we need to create a requirements.txt file where it will hold all the third-party dependencies that is required to run our program. For example, TensorFlow, NLTK, Unicorn, etc. Let's create our requirements file. Using pip freeze, it gives us all the dependencies that are required. And if we use pip freeze greater than requirements.txt, it will automatically copy paste all the dependencies into requirements file. As this is giving a note, we may need to restart our kernel to see the updates. Once the kernel is updated, it will look something like this. It is looking like this because I am using Anaconda environment, but it may look different to you. We need to specify runtime.txt. Basically, it will hold the version of Python that is running our code. So we can just paste Python and the version we are using. So creating runtime.txt and we paste Python version here. Now we need to create a .gitignore file, and this file will contain all the local dependencies that we do not require online. For example, the virtual environments and some .pyc files that are created. As we can see in our folder, we have created one virtual environment chbot, so we will not need this in our online deployment. So creating a .gitignore file. So basically .gitignore will ignore all the files to be placed in the Git repository. In this file, we will paste this so that it ignores the specified files. With this, we created all the helping files we need for our deployment. Let's go to our terminal and initialize the Git repository. Here, once we are into our root directory, we can use git init. It will initialize our repository. If we check status, here we can see these are all the files that are required to be committed. So let's add all of them. We can use git commit -m and the comment to commit our changes. We have committed the git into our repository. Now we are all set to deploy it on Heroku. For that, first of all, if we are running it for the first time, we will use Heroku login. The next step is to create a Heroku app. We will use Heroku create, and your app name we want to create, let's say BBChat89. It has successfully created the app for us. Now we need to use git push Heroku master to push our Git repository on our application. It will take a while for it to run. For some reason I am not getting the progress on my terminal, but if I check Heroku dashboard, I can see that the compiled slug size is 536 MB, which is more than the applicable file size that is provided in the trial, which is 500 MB, because of which our deployment is failed. I suspect this is because of the TensorFlow library that I am using. The size of TensorFlow library is huge, up to 430 MB. Due to the limitation of trial account and the file size, I am not able to deploy my project on Heroku. But if we are doing this professionally, we can upgrade our Heroku account and we can deploy it then. But after developing a good project and so close to deployment, I wanted to guide you to the next step so that if your program is less in size, it will be easily deployed on Heroku and you can use the WhatsApp interface for your purpose. So once this is complete, you will get a website and you can use this website on your Twilio account. Here the website you received from the Heroku /port, as we have provided a root /port for our application. If we save this, it will be up and running and we can use our application chatbot on WhatsApp platform. At the end, I would like to apologize for not being able to deploy it online and show you the final product. But if you have a small project, we can surely deploy it and use it for our purpose. With this, we end our video series for creating WhatsApp chatbot for our small businesses. Hope you enjoyed the process and we got to learn something from it. If you want to see more practical applications of Python programming in our daily lives, please follow me and subscribe to my channel. Throw a like if you like the video. Let me know in the comment section below if there are any improvements or we can do it any other way or more efficiently. So friends, this is Somveer taking your leave. We will meet with a new video. Until then, adios.